Blessed love to each and every one. Give thanks for your presence with us. We definitely give thanks for the life giver and the keeper of life in all good doings and sayings. It is a joy again for us to be here, of course, in the Tiger's Nest. And in the webinar zone, we are thankful for all those who have stepped in early, and we are looking to definitely elevate this evening. For those who may be coming into this zone for the very first time, I am very thankful for your presence with us. And of course, tonight we will be directly dealing with the lecture entitled Chalice in Wonderland. And let me just say that for sure, I could definitely promise you that we will be taking this to a different level. What I want to do this evening, we will be covering the subject on different aspects. For sure, we will be highlighting more so than anything the science of the psychedelics and the parallel worlds and the different dimensions that has been expressed specifically in the Walt Disney's version, the animated movie of Alice in Wonderland. That is basically where we are going to be sealing up this evening. But even prior to that, we have to take a look at the origin of this story. We want to somewhat look into the author of the original story. We want to see exactly what steps it took before Walt Disney took it up, and of course the levels that he took it to. So just giving you a good idea. And let me just say, I see Brother Jimmy Lights is in the house. Brother Jimmy Lights, please check your email. And if not, I am asking you to at least recontact me again. Very important. I am trying to get a few information from you, my good brother. Please check that email there. Now, as I said, my family again, of course, I know some of you already have your chalice there ready to go. I don't have to ask. And those who may not have ordered their chalice as well as yet, you definitely, all you have to do if you are, as I said, a new individual to our scope here, yes, by the time we're done tonight, you'll see the heights of the chalice and why it's important. Those who have ordered their chalices and have not received them as yet, more than likely, they're very close. I'm sure maybe this strong, you will be receiving them. Now, many of us would have, read or at least heard of the story Alice's Adventure Underground. We're not specifically speaking at this time of Disney's Alice in Wonderland. We have to make this clear distinction here. There is Walt Disney's version of Alice in Wonderland. Now, prior to that, you have Alice in Wonderland, and even after that, they have so many different movies that have been made about Alice in Wonderland. Okay, but then you have Alice Adventures in Wonderland. And then as you could see here, we have Alice's Adventures Underground. That is something different. And even after that, you Alice's Adventures Underground, you have Alice Through the Looking Glass. So somewhere between 1860 and 1865, we had the creation specifically of Alice's Adventures Underground, and then Alice Through the Looking Glass. And then eventually that author eventually came forward with the world-renowned Alice in Wonderland. Now, really, where we are going here, we need to somewhat highlight
not just the origin of the story, but the individual which is said, who is said to have created this. How did he come, by this idea, and who is he, by the way? So you would always hear of the famous Lewis Carroll. From my understanding, outside of Shakespeare and the Bible, I think Lewis Carroll is the most quoted author in history. So you'd always hear people speak of, well, Shakespeare said something and the Bible said. Well, outside of the Bible and Shakespeare, it's Lewis Carroll that will come up next. Okay, so who is Mr. Carroll here? He is a mathematician. He's also known as Reverend. His real name is Charles Dodson, but his writer's name is Lewis Carroll. He was considered to be very mystic in his writing. In fact, he himself says that within his stories, his characters are layered. That is his statement, meaning that his characters has different identities. So in other words, in his writing styles, he would use a lot of symbolism, undertones, and esoteric messages. That is for sure, without a doubt, to the point when even he himself would admit this. So as far as the Alice now vibration, who is Alice? Where did he get this idea? Now, this is more than just an idea. This is a reality, because Mr. Lewis Carroll, as I said, he was a mathematician, and he also was a teacher at the Christ Church, Oxford University. Hear me good. And young Alice Liddell, that's her here, that's young Alice Liddell. She herself, she was the daughter of the dean of the university at the time. So follow this story good, eh? So Mr. Lewis Carroll, the world-renowned famous author, when he met young Alice Liddell, he was 24 and she was 4 years old. So in other words, he would have been her senior approximately 20 years. He met her along with her two older sisters, but they were of similar age. So according to the story now, Mr. Lewis Carroll, one day with his friend, Mr. Duckworth, they took the three little girls for a boat ride up the Thames River, going to a specific place where they had a picnic. The place is called Godstow. I mean, everything I'm saying is so important. Now, she was about 6 or so at that time. And according to the accounts given by biographers, etc., she pressed hard upon Mr. Carroll to tell them, the girls, a story. So they wanted a story from Mr. Carroll, because Mr. Carroll now, Mr. Lewis Carroll, if you're being introduced to him, in fact, he is an individual that there's a lot of conspiracy over him. The debate continues over him. In fact, many people plainly says that he was a pedophile. In fact, some of his own biographers says that he had more than a friend-like relationship with the young Alice. That's just the reality of it. And of course, we're not trying to state no one's name. We're just looking at history in its realistic perspective. Now, the reason why I have to highlight these things, and I'm not staying too long on this, but there's a reason why you have to highlight these little things. It's very, very important, because the writers of a lot of our stories, a lot of our nursery rhymes, a lot of the things that we take in at a young age. When you check the state of mind, their mentality, their concepts of things, you got to wonder. So what about the fella that wrote Rockabye Baby on the Treetop? If you take your time and you go into history and you understand the mind frame of a lunatic that would tell you to put a little baby on the top of a tree, so when the wind blows, it will blow it off and kill everyone. It's just, that's why you have to take your time and break down the psychology of the writers of some of these stories. Now, Alice in Wonderland, I am telling you, that is a puzzle. So you have to take your time to at least understand the mind frame of the brainchild, the individual that brought this to light. You want to see at least what he or her, what they were thinking of at the time, he or she. Now, Mr. Carroll here, Mr. Lewis Carroll, you'll see in a picture of him with the young Alice on his lap. This is another very controversial picture as well, which appears to be Mr. Lewis kissing Alice. This is serious. In fact, within his memoirs, his diary really, a few pages are missing, and biographers clearly state that some of these pages that were missing indicated that he even proposed to her, even at such a young age. Also, this photo is very controversial. This is of the young Alice Liddell as well, because Mr. Carroll, Mr. Lewis Carroll, he was an artist, he was a magician, he was a photographer, he was a mathematician, and he was also a reverend. So he was practicing celibacy also, supposedly, at the time. So when you put all of this together now, what stands out about this picture that he took of her is that usually the young, Alice is seen well covered and well dressed. She's the daughter of the dean of the Oxford University. Follow me good. But for whatever reason, Mr. Lewis Carroll, world-renowned author, somewhat, put her together and took this, what became very famous picture. In fact, if you really examine the picture close enough, her left nipple is being showed as well. So, I mean, it's obvious, there'll be those that would want to defend that. As I said, we're just here to highlight the truth, and we want to bring everything in perspective. Now, specifically, the Martin N. Cohan, I'm just going to read a statement here. And this is the author of Lewis Carroll biography. And he states that Lewis Carroll was emotionally involved with the young Alice. There was no question about it. Now, that is his statement. Now, what I'm saying is that going up the river, she asked him, according to the story, to tell her a story, and it is said that just out of his head, Mr. Lewis Carroll began to speak of this white rabbit going down this hole, the rabbit hole. And the young Alice, because he put her in the story right away, went down following the rabbit. And then the story went on and went on and went on. So he eventually, this is Mr. Lewis Carroll, he eventually penned the book in his own handwriting. He was considered to be a perfectionist. Anyone who has studied him, especially if you are a student of literature, more than likely you would have studied Lewis Carroll, you would know that he was, again, a perfectionist when it came to his work. Now, as I said, he wrote the book. What you are seeing is actually his writing and his drawing. He wrote it and he drew it. the original copy of Alice's Adventure Underground. And within the story, obviously, you found the mystics that appeared. You know, you have the dodo bird. Now, the dodo bird is him, because the different characters in Alice in Wonderland, whether it's Alice's Adventure Underground, or Alice looking through the mirror, or Alice through the looking mirror, I should say. The point is that these characters are real people. So the dodo bird was said to be Mr. Lewis Carroll himself, who originally his name was Charles Dodson, which really it is said that he stammered. So when he pronounced his name, he always said dod, dod, and then his name. So it is said that he was the dodo bird within the story. The white rabbit, according to the science, was considered to be the doctor of the little family, not little family, Liddell. So we're getting now to a kind of understanding of the origins of this. We haven't gone anywhere yet. We're just kind of, you know what I mean, cleaning it up for you, so you kind of see where it all began, you know, the reason for this. So as I said, he put that together. He created these different characters. You don't know who the characters are within Alice in Wonderland, Alice Adventures Underground, and again, Alice Through the Looking Glass, which came into what we know now as Alice itself in Wonderland. All right. Of course, we could go deeper into that origin. You know, just keep in mind that they went into a rowboat and they were going up the Thames River. That's very important. They were going to Godstow, you know, and that is where the story was told. And it began with the white rabbit going in the hole, and Alice, the young Alice, about 6 years old, following the rabbit. And as you could see, Alice now, she was not blonde like the character that we know. She had black hair, or what they would call brunette, but somehow she became blonde, not only in the Walt Disney story, but in the story in general. All right. Now, what I would like to highlight now in this next stage of this expression is the importance of understanding the ancient philosophy of the goddess going into the underworld to redeem herself. And you see it in many different ways, in many different philosophies and different cultures. Now, many psychologists, when they try to break down Alice in Wonderland, you know, they look at Alice, of course, with the mind of a child, and how a child would look at the adult. So all of the weird characters that she would have met in Wonderland, Tweedledee and Tweedledum, and the Cheshire Cat, and of course the caterpillar with the hookah, the Mad Hatter and the hair, and all of these different folks, they are considered the queen. They're considered to be adults through the eye of a child. And this is how some psychologists would, you know, portray or explain the story, the movie, the book. Now, they may be correct, again, on that level, because it's different levels, and this is extremely layered. So this is another level now. You have many stories of the goddess going into the underworld. You have many stories of the goddess going into the Amenta and redeeming herself. Now, let me read this for you. This is about the goddess known as Ainanna. You seeing this here? You seeing this here on the screen? It has healing stars. Okay. Now, let me just read this. This is coming from out of the Sumerian region, Babylonian region. Now, listen to this, my family. Ainanna's descent into the underworld. She's the queen of heaven. There are many myths about the descent of the goddess. Do you get that? There are many myths about the descent of the goddess. This is the story of Ainana, the ancient myth that predates the male gods such as Zeus. This is when the goddess ruled the heavens, the earth, and the underworld. The oldest known myth is Babylonian and was written on clay tablets in the 3rd millennia BC. Now, of course, they're talking of the Sumerian, but that's not necessarily true that it's the oldest, but that's another kind of discussion there. It is usually known as the descent of Ainana, the Sumerian queen of heaven and earth. This myth is about the meeting of the queen of heaven with her sister, queen of the underworld. It is a story about meeting the dark shadow side, of one's self. And believe it, that is how some people, this is how some psychologists even interpret the Alice in Wonderland's story of an individual meeting the dark or the shadow side of their self. This is a story of the original duality, the Gemini story of our other half. Okay, now listen to this. This is some heavy stuff here. Ayana is queen of heaven, having received her spiritual heritage from her father in the form of qualities needed to fulfill her role. She has to stand firm against him as he tries to take back his gifts. So she has to stand firm against her own father as he tries to take back the gifts. Sounds like Yenenga, and how the name seems very similar. Ainana, Yenenga, which is the African princess. Good. So Ainana marries a humble young shepherd called Dumuzi, who becomes a god king. They have an ecstatic union, but after the honeymoon, Dumuzi exhorts Ainana, let me go, sister, let me go. Ainana decides to visit her sister in the underworld whose husband has just died. However, she isn't on good terms with her. So as a precaution, she instructs Nin Shuber, her trusted female servant, go get help if she does not return within 3 days. Now, it's interesting, because really the whole science of the chakra now is going to come in, and I just want to highlight all of this here for the people. Now here it says here, at the first gate of the underworld, Ainana is stopped and asked to declare herself. This is very important. At the first gate of the underworld, Ainana is stopped and asked to declare herself. The gatekeeper informs Iresk Kigal, queen of the great below, that Ainana, queen of heaven, of the place where the sun rises, asks for admission to the land of no return to witness the funeral of Gugalana, husband of Iresh Kigal. Now, what is interesting there is that she's asked to declare herself at the first gate. Now, of course, we know even in the movie Alice in Wonderland, she comes to the door that is giving her a little problem to get in, and she had to get big and get small and get a key to get in. We'll get into all of that soon. But if you can remember, when she came across the caterpillar asked her continually, who are you? Now, according to the story of the goddess going into the underworld, one of the first things that she must do when she reached to the first gate is declare herself. And declaration of self is something that is well known in the ancient world. And this is why on the temples of Kemet, you would see it written, man, know thyself. Is the same thing. It's the answer to the question. Man, know who you are. Know thyself. The same concept of God within. Declare yourself. Who are you? So this science now of even the white rabbit, and this is what proves that we're dealing with sheer Masonic philosophy here, because even in this 1604 painting, you could see the white rabbit, and the white rabbit represents the guide into salvation. So the white rabbit will go through the rabbit hole, and you follow this white rabbit to your destiny, to your salvation. It's a Masonic understanding from such time. So listen to me good, eh? So you'll find this tradition in many different folklores, even in Europe. So you have different forms of the rabbit, the same rabbit that you must follow. So you have Puka. Here you see Puka now sitting in the tree. This is the Irish version of the rabbit that you must follow. Puka is seen as a goat sometimes, and sometimes seen as a rabbit, or seen as a mixture of both. So we have Puka here, also known as Puck or Pook. The Irish and the English refer to this rabbit as Puck or Pook. Now, interesting, eh? In the Shakespearean story, the Midsummer's Night Dream, it speaks about a Puck. I want you to follow me good. Puck is the rabbit, also known as Puka, also known as Pook. And this rabbit, just like the Freemasonic understanding, this rabbit will run into the hole here. You see it here. This look like the sugar mill of Rastafari. This rabbit will run into the hole, and the initiate will follow the rabbit. That's a part of it. It's not me making this up here. That's how it goes. So again, this is seen in many different aspects as it relates to the European tradition. Now I'm showing you Shakespeare wrote about Puck. And Puck now, this is a little Puck here. Puck looks very similar to Pan. You see, they're related and interrelated with the little Tinkerbells around him. So Puck, the little goat man, as I said, sometimes Puck is seen as a goat, and sometimes Puck is seen, not a hockey puck now, Puck is seen as the rabbit, as you obviously see here. And just to show how crafty they are in their masonry, that when you look at the Edwin's, before we get to you, Coyote dear, when you look at Edwin's Landshare's artistry of the Midsummer Night Dream, this is it here. If you look good, follow me, eh? Hope we're not going too fast for you. If you look good, this is the Midsummer's Night Dream painting by Edwin Landshare. If you look over here, this is Shakespeare's Puck. You see him here? And you also have the white rabbit, specifically, what you call this, diagonally, perfectly arranged in order to align with the Puck, because the rabbit is Puck. So you see the white rabbit here, even the little hole here, the same hole you have to follow the rabbit through, because you will always see it in their artistry, because it's Masonic artistry for sure. All right, so the white rabbit now is understood. Nothing here is done by mistake, and Mr. Lewis Carroll for sure was obviously some sort of initiate within this science. Remember, this is what we have been speaking of about for a while. If you have not seen the lecture that we did, Fairy Tale Folly Days and Nursery Crimes, you should definitely take a look at that. When we took the time to show you how they took what's his name there, Chippendale fella there. Chippendale, what was his Thomas Chippendale from Otley in England in about 1810. I think that's when he was born. And he himself was a mason. But what he did, he would craft the Masonic science using wood. So he's one of those woodsmen, like the carpenter. That's why I said in the Bible, Christ is seen as a carpenter, which may seem like the opposite of a mason. Mason deal with stones, carpenter deals with woods and hammers and nails, etc., etc., etc. So Pinocchio's father, Geppetto, he's seen as what? As a woodsman, because he cut the woods and he made the puppets and brought them to life. This is not just Walt Disney's version of Pinocchio. I mean the Pinocchio story in general. So the science of the woodsman is very, very important, extremely, extremely important, especially in a case like this. As we said, we're dealing with the carpenter. You understand? So this understanding now of going into the different dimensions was something that Mr. Carroll clearly understood. Now, when we did the Stargate program, we were speaking of sites like this where the native people of South America will speak of, sites where you could go and ancient legendary heroes would have gone and would have touched the stone or touched the door, and they would have gone into a different world, something like a wormhole, and would appear in another dimension, or would appear in a parallel world, or appear somewhere else on some other plane, some other world, some other planet, some other galaxy, somewhere else. And the planet is littered with this sort of understanding. So this is what you see highlighted here in the Roadrunner cartoon. This is the tunnel that Mr. Coyote is always painting. He's a painter too. Always does a good job. He does so good of a job that after painting this tunnel with the road and the line in the middle of the road and the end of the tunnel and the sun and the shadow, he's a serious artist. Mr. Roadrunner would come and just run right through the wall. He would run through the tunnel. And then Mr. Coyote now, when he tries to run through the tunnel, he would hit his head, he would fall on his back. I'm sure he would get a headache, but he'll be up again trying some other trick to catch the Roadrunner. Now the science here, and interesting, listen to this. All of this is taking place in the Grand Canyon. And it is said that the Grand Canyon has several stargates. I've never visited the Grand Canyon, but again, it is said that the Grand Canyon has several stargates. So when Hanna and Barbara, the creators and those who brought Roadrunner to the world, when they brought this idea of making portals in the Grand Canyon, it was something that the native people have been speaking about for a long time. But it was now placed in a little cartoon, and we laugh, he's going to run into the wall. Sometimes the coyote gets through the Stargate, the tunnel, but then there's a train coming on the other side. So it never really works out for him. But that's the idea that they're pitching to you in this cartoon. The science of the Stargate, the science of the portals, the science of going into another world, the science of traveling to a different dimension, because the ancient ones always believed in that. Now, of course, the debate will come up, and we did address it. So Do you believe that someone actually went and touched the rock and disappeared? Everything went, clothes, shoes, socks, everything went into this parallel world, into this other dimension. They say they have 11 dimensions, parallel worlds. These are real things. This is nothing to scoff at. Different dimensions exist. It's reality. They say there are at least 11 dimensions. Parallel worlds for sure definitely exist. This is scientifically proven. When you understand the science of what is known as you have matter and antimatter. Antimatter specifically exists in the parallel world. But yet still now, and we have proven, and when I say we, the scientific world has proven now that there is a parallel world because antimatter is used in specific brain scans, PET scans and CAT scans and these different scans. Antimatter is utilized. But according to them, before that age, antimatter only exists in a parallel world, you know. So the parallel world idea and concept is not too far off. It's just a reality. So there are means and ways of connecting to this parallel world. Most of us here, we are not directly connected to the parallel world. Maybe when we go to sleep and we're dreaming, we somehow get a little window into the astral world. But because we're not consciously aware of what's going on, we do not, purposely enter into this zone with confidence, knowing that I'm going to another world. In the same way that you board a plane and say, well, I'm going to New York, I'm going to London, I'm going down to South Africa, and I'm going to be there in an hour, and I'm going to meet you by the I don't know, wherever I'm going to meet you, because you have, purposely, consciously planned your movement. And that's how we move. We purposely plan that we go into a next dimension. It doesn't just happen by chance. We don't trip and fall down the rabbit hole. We know what we're doing as ancient people, and that is why we have so many evidence within our literature, on the walls, our writings, our artwork, showing us going to different dimensions and encountering different vibrations. So now they're going to put it on TV and tell you about ancient aliens and somebody coming from space and take away all the credit from you, where it's all within it. It's all within. It is all within. There is a reality there where you purposely, as I said before, what's his name? Fingerprints of the God, John Hancock, where he clearly says, and I agree with him, that the movements that was done in ancient time from one dimension to the next dimension was a purpose conscious decision to alter your psychological state of mind. Real thing, alter the frame of thought as such to take you to a different dimension. And to do this, they would have utilized specific psychedelic material. You have plants, specifically, more than likely it would be plants. But at the same time now, and when we say plants now, and this is an idea of the movements to another dimension. When we say plants now, you have several plants. You have the blue lotus that is highlighted many times in ancient scriptures. You have the different levels of the acacia plant that is highlighted in ancient medical papyri. Of course, you have the cannabis sativa, of course, the granddaddy and the giant. And there are other plants that individuals utilize to, if you want to say, take them on a spiritual journey. So now we use all sorts of phrases for this sort of movement. We say they have altered their state of thinking. They're on a psychedelic trip. They're high, they're red. What else they say? They're stoned. All sorts of things we apply to this action. But what is really happening here? You're not red, you're not stoned, you're not high, you're none of these things. What is happening is that you are naturally, as a human being, and it happens to animals too, you are naturally engaging with another dimension. That's what's happening, eh? You're here, but you're there. When you partake of these mind-altering substances, what they do, and different substances do different things, carry you different places, because there are many places to go. Listen to me good. There are many places to go. You see the movie we're going to go into now, Alice in Wonderland? It's talking about different levels of the psychedelic. That's why it's called Chalice in Wonderland, because it is talking about the chalice, and it's talking about the tree of life too. But it's talking about mushrooms, and I'm telling you, that movie is also talking about drugs. You see me? So LSD takes you somewhere else when compared to, let's just say, cannabis sativa. And of course, the different levels of the cannabis also takes you to different levels of that that Zion-like place that cannabis in general takes you. So cannabis in general takes you to a specific place. And the different levels of the cannabis that you're dealing with will take you to different sections of that different place. LSD, speed, crack and cocaine, that takes you somewhere else. Totally different. A real dark zone. But it takes you somewhere. Because all of these things, alcohol, whether it's beer, rum, whiskey, wine, champagne, they all take you somewhere. Because they're spirits. That's why you call them spirits. All of these things have some level of effect on your psychoactive experience. It's just reality. So obviously some are better than some. Some are more natural than some. Some definitely have been, concocted just to examine or test and see where and how far you can go. So that is why even as Rastafari, we deal with the cannabis sativa, the tree of life. It is obvious that the tree of life was prepared for that. Now, me personally, people would tell you, well, I don't need no substance to take me to another level. I don't need this and I don't need that. No, I'm not here to tell nobody what they need. But personally, I consider that statement to be a very pathetic cop-out type of statement. And I'm going to tell you why. Because the Most High created this physical form, and the Most High created everything around us, from the sea, from the lakes, the rivers, the stone, the minerals, the vitamins, and all the plants. Now, you as a human being, you eat. You get nourishment from the plants. If you break your leg, there are plants that can help you. The seawater can assist you. If you have a problem sleeping, there's a plant that can assist you in resting. If you have a problem staying awake, there's a plant that can assist you in staying awake. So in all the different functions of life, the Most High has created plants and other organisms to assist us to reach that goal in every aspect of our life. So for you now to have an experience where you're connecting to the astral world and the etheric world, there's nothing wrong with that. It's natural. We do these things, and there are plants that exist to help you do that. So this weird thinking now that because we feel that, we are so 21st century, and I'm on a natural high, nothing goes so. You lie, you make that up. You're just too afraid to face reality, because that is what it is. All the ancients, the first constellation, is a man smoking a chalice. The first constellation is Arcturus, the devotees, the shepherd with his pipe, because it is a natural thing. The DMT, again, within the plant. It is the DMT. You have the THC as well, but the DMT is in many plants, and that assists us in that whole movement from one dimension to the other. It's a natural thing. You see, the problem is a lot of us, those of us who so-called smoke, we're not too sure, what is going on. That is why sometimes we are afraid to be alone. Yeah, you could sit down and listen to me speaking to you. But if you were to smoke or burn or whatever you call it, and you were to do it, maybe not you, but some people in the dark by yourself, a lot of people become afraid. Why? Because now they're encountering themselves. That's what happens, eh? You are encountering yourself. The looking glass is in front of you. The God within you is coming out. Just like when you rub the genie comes out and says, hey, what's going on? 3 wishes? Wishes. And listen, if you don't have nothing to tell the genie, don't trouble the genie. The genie would break your neck. If you call a genie, you never watch the movies, man. If you summon a genie and you have nothing to say, the genie would deal with you. It will not be nice. So you better have something sensible to put to the genie. So in the same way, like the chalice is like the genie lamp. And when you rub the lamp, the genie comes out. It's referred to as the genie. The genie is an ancient word for the God. The genie comes out. And your wish is the genie's command. But a lot of us, we're not aware of that. We don't even make no wishes. We just get scared and run away and we need to eat something quick and try to go to sleep. All sorts of things we do when we summon the genie, because we're not aware of what we're doing. That's why we have to talk to somebody or, get on the phone or watch something, because we are afraid to be by ourselves. So when you go into that zone, when you meditate, when you partake of the cannabis, when you start to ascend, you are bringing the God out. So it's like you and God there. So this is why now knowledge and information and all of this stuff is so important. So when God appears, you can talk to God and have a sensible conversation with God. But when there's nothing there to say, the genie will get upset. This is real. DMT, THC, it's just a natural thing. And the reason why I'm staying here for a moment is because too many of us, somehow, we have fallen for the trap. So it's about, well, if you want to smoke, it's okay. And everybody don't have to, and try to make it look like some sort of choice and this little thing. Don't make it look so. That's an ancient tradition prescribed by the Most High. Just like eating food, drinking water, jogging, going to the gym. Yeah, if you want to connect to the different levels, I'm telling you. Yeah, you can do yoga all you want, you can Tai Chi all you want. That works too. That works too, but we don't have to get pathetic. There are trees and plants and brews and drinks and all sorts of stuff that has been prepared to take you to another dimension, and give thanks that the Rastafari has highlighted the tree of life. So the ayahuasca, of course, many people speak so highly of the ayahuasca, and they consider that itself takes them into a different dimension altogether. Now, of course, the tree of life. Remember the concept of the tree of life. Follow me good, eh? Remember the concept of the tree of life. is the concept of the Christ man. The tree of life is not just a tree. The tree of life is a meditational system, and the tree of life again represents the Messiah. So that is why biblically, again, even in Isaiah, when describing the Messiah, he's seen as the root of David and the branch that shall come out of Jesse and the stem of Jacob and these different things, the seed and stem and seed and branch and roots. Sounds like a tree to me, because the tree now itself, the tree of life, again, is an ancient system. It's used in alchemy. It's used in the Kabbalistic system. But of course, it is originally from ancient Africa. So now this is why, although the tree of life is not necessarily a tree, but of course, we definitely, the fact that it's called a tree, there must be a tree that represents the tree of life. And that tree is the cannabis sativa. Now, the anciency of the tree of life, again, as the Christ figure, we've highlighted this. The god Asa, you see Asa, he is green. You see the Osiris figure, he is green. The reason why you see him green is because he represents the tree. You know, he represents the tree of life. He represents the Christ element. I definitely know that the students are clicking 100% with me tonight. So when we look at the molecular structure, for example, of the blood and the chlorophyll of the plant, you could see that it is exactly the same. So the human blood, the molecular structure of its makeup, when compared to that of the plant's chlorophyll, you could see that the only difference is that the plant has magnesium, where the human blood would have iron. You know, again, this is subject areas that we have touched before, but we're bringing it up again as we are delving into this new subject here. Now, the only difference is the iron and the magnesium, and this is why now you could refer to the chlorophyll in the plant as what? The blood of the plant. The chlorophyll in the plant is referred to as the blood of the plant. Very, very important, because it's actually made up like our blood. Good. So the Christ figure now, which is the tree of life. So the Christ is seen like a tree. When we did the chalice lecture, we clearly showed that the marijuana, which is the tree of life, is placed in the chalice just like the sacrifice. And when you burn the chalice and the smoke goes in the water, because that's what happens when you take a drop. The smoke plunges in the water and comes back out, and then you take it in and it goes to the pineal and the full works thereof. That's a process that is taking place there. That's the creation of life. And when you complete burning the chalice, you would notice that the water will be green. Why? Because the water now has turned to the blood of the plant. Remember, the blood of the plant is not human's blood. The blood of the plant is chlorophyll, because chlorophyll is the blood of the plant. That's why the chlorophyll molecule and the human molecule of blood is exactly the same, except for iron and magnesium. That's why when your blood touches oxygen, it turns red. It's not red all the time because it's rusting in a sense, you know, because it's touching the oxygen. So the plant's chlorophyll is symbolic of the blood of the tree of life, or the green man, which is Asa, which is the Messiah that is sacrificed. That's why we showed you in the Holy Grail lecture that the sacrifice is the tree of life. So when the water turns green, it's very symbolic of the water turning to wine, the water turning red, or the water turning to blood. Now, as heavy as that may sound to some, it should be very light because we have done whole lectures on this specific subject area here. And of course, those that have set this in motion as far as what we watch on television and what we read in the storybooks, they know exactly what I am talking about here. Because again, this is something we have highlighted several times, but I think before we go deeper, I should highlight again, it's obvious that the Mickey Mouse symbol that has become extremely famous is a replica of the molecular structure of water. Now, this is not just by chance. It would be a very interesting coincidence, you know, if it was that. But no, it's not a coincidence. When you have the power over water, you have a lot of power. And I'm telling you, when you observe the films that were created by Walter Disney, for example, Pinocchio, the science again is very key. Remember in the old Pinocchio story, yes, Pinocchio was swallowed by a fish. Walter Disney came and made Pinocchio to be swallowed by a whale. I am telling you, even in Christianity, you hear people say Jonah was swallowed by a whale. When the Bible says Jonah was swallowed by a fish, I am telling you, it's the influence that Walt Disney had on that theory, changing the fish to a whale, that even in religion, the science turned from a fish to a whale. That's how strong his influence is, but we've missed that. So although a lot of what I'm saying may sound like, wow, this is a lot of stuff, and wow, I thought we were going to talk about Alice in Wonderland. Well, hey, listen, we didn't come here to play. We came to unravel the mysteries. And with no disrespect to anyone, we're not giving you a secondhand story here. So when we take these different pieces, it's a must, so we can clearly express what is taking place in Wonderland. All right. Disney's Alice in Wonderland. Now, I think we have said enough, so we can just now flow smoothly through the movie. But before we hit the movie here, and I will be sharing the video, and I hope you will be able to pick up the audio, but my engineers will tell me, because this app that we are using here, this software that we are using here, there was an upgrade done which would allow us to use the audio, sound, and sharing the video. So you will tell us when that time comes, if you can. We don't want none of that, man. You tell us when the time comes if you are hearing the audio properly. Okay, good. So this is the opening song in the Walt Disney's movie. I'm sure you're seeing everything. You're seeing everything there. Okay. Alice in Wonderland. How do you get to Wonderland? You may know the song. It says, over the hill and or under land, or just behind a tree. And interesting, remember that's the original name as such, Alice Adventures Underground. You know what I mean? So how do you get to Wonderland? Now, let's just think of Wonderland. Wonderland is obviously an interesting place. You know, it's obviously a place of where things do not really seem to be how they really are. Now, a lot of people say when people use drugs, and whether legal or illegal, and substances, substance abuse as they call it, people would say that they're trying to get away from reality. Well, let me tell you, I've never used drugs in my life, but maybe I have. Maybe I have, because I have taken some painkillers already. So I would have used drugs. Oh yeah, and I've drunk soda. What else? Oh yeah, I have used drugs. But what they may call drugs, I've never even smoked a cigarette. But apparently, drugs somehow take you away from reality. So if you have a problem and the problems of the world is on you, you just smoke some drugs. Oh yeah, okay now. I don't look at the pink elephant flying. Because remember, in Alice in Wonderland, she saw a rocking horse fly. Now, my experience with the tree of life, I don't know about you, but when I meditate and I partake of the tree of life, my so-called problems don't go nowhere. In fact, that which I may have been trying to hide from will come straight in front of me and say, my Lord, you better deal with this and deal with it now. So I don't know what you're talking about, not you directly. I'm talking about my own experience, and I'm talking about decades of experience. This here, the tree of life, has never taken away nothing from my mind and hidden it from me. It bring up that which I may have even been neglecting and say, yo, deal with it. So I don't know what they're talking about. But anyway, the question is, how do you get to Wonderland? Over the hill or on the land? And listen to this, or just behind a tree. So it's telling you how to get to this place. It's telling you how to get to this world, the different dimension, the etheric world, the astral world specifically, the parallel zone. It's just behind a tree. It's a metaphor, my family. I mean, we've been doing this long enough now. I don't think this is not kindergarten. This is at least the college stage we're at here, just behind the tree. Then it goes on to say, when clouds go rolling by, they roll away and leave the sky with the land behind, with the land behind, where is the land behind the eye? Pardon me. People cannot see. You understand? So, I mean, behind the eye in the land, it's the mind. It's the mind. Where is the land behind the eye that people cannot see? It's the mind that it's talking about. You know, and I could go on and on with this, but, you know, I so want to break it down probably before the time goes away. So, just for overstanding clear, you want to know how to get to Wonderland? It's behind the tree. And clouds have to go rolling by too. This is serious. Now, even before we go into that, let me just give you a good idea of what was said in the song, In a World of My Own. Here is what she says in A World of My Own. Cats and rabbits would reside in fancy little houses and be dressed in shoes and hats and trousers. That's pants, for those who don't know. In a world of my own. Okay. All the flowers would have very extra special powers. Now, as I said, even outside of the tree of life, there are several plants, and specifically flowers, that do have very extra special powers. And hear this, they would sit and talk to me for hours. When I am alone in a world of my own. This is what I'm saying. A lot of people cannot sit down and by themselves. Some people can't, communicate with the plant by themselves. And the plant would talk to you. Trust me. The plants have spoken to me for hours. Hours. When I'm alone in a world of my own, and I know most of you that are listening to me can definitely attest to what I am saying here. Okay. Now tell me something. Can you hear what I'm pushing here? You actually hear it? Okay. So you should be hearing this, family. This is the song I was just reading here. Alice in Wonderland. How do you get to Wonderland? You hearing me talk to? You hearing the music? See what's going on here. If they can't hear, it's all right. I'll know what to do. All right. No worry. I'm just checking. You see, pardon me. Agreed to meet. And it says here, this is what she's saying here. I was reading from a specific book known as A Short Course of History by Haviland Chapnels. And it says here, but you can still hear me talking, right? Okay, good. And it says here, this is what she's saying here. And even Sting, the Archbishop of Canterbury, even the Archbishop of Canterbury, pardon me, agreed to meet with William and offer him the crown. Right. That's just a little piece of the movie. Now it may just like, okay, but that came out of an actual book. And the book really was speaking of the rise and fall of the House of Normandy. And at that time, there were a lot of noble women and princesses that had the name Alice. So a little simple thing like that, if it could just slip you and you miss it. But anyway, so here comes the white rabbit. And of course, he's running down the rabbit, going down the rabbit hole. No time to say goodbye. Hello, I'm late. So she goes in the hole and she's falling down. Now, as you can see, she obviously has on her apron. I think anyone that understands masonry knows that the apron is very important to all of this. Now, while falling down the stairs here or coming down, as you see, she picks up a book. These flowers pass as well. You see, these flowers are very important. Picks up the book, flowers pass. Now, you will notice that when she enters into the rocking chair, that is when the chalice appears. When she gets comfortable. At the moment she gets comfortable, that is when the chalice pipes appear. Now listen, nobody can tell me. You can say all you want. Oh, but priest, it looks like a teacup. It looks like a teapot. Yeah, well, at least realistically, that is what they're trying to make it look like. But it's obvious. And we know this is a smoking movie. Let's not pretend. Come on. But the moment she gets comfortable is when the chalice appears. You see, look at it. As she gets comfortable, but then she falls out when the chalice disappears. All right. Now, let's observe this. Of course, if you know the movie good, after falling down now, she reached to the doorknob. And the doorknob now is telling her that she cannot pass through. Now look at the walls. This is the hall that she's in. Obviously, the floor is checkered. We know checkered floor is a high sign of masonry. But look at the walls. One side of the wall is blue. The other side of the wall is red. And it's blue blood, red blood. It's blue masonry and red masonry. In politics, it's blue and red. That's why in some of these flags, it's red, white, and blue. You know, as the white being the neutral color, the Democrat, the Republican, all of that stuff. There's always a division. You say?
It's on mute.
Yes, I purposely put it on mute so there wouldn't be no distraction since they cannot hear at all. You know, so the point is now, so in this room, of course, you know, this is where she first came across the psychedelics. This one said, "Drink me." And after drinking it, she became large or small. No, she became small. And then the doorknob told her that, hey, well, I mean, that's nice that you came small, but you know, you forgot the key, and the key is up there. So then she drank a bit more, and then she became bigger. All right. And then after getting big, she started to cry. And her tears that she was dropping down became like a flood. You know, she ate some more of the little treat, and she became small again and fell into the bottle that she was drinking from. And she went through the first door, and now she is in her own tears, which has become an ocean. And she's in the little bottle. Then the dodo appears. Now, interestingly, remember the dodo is Mr. Lewis Carroll. And the dodo's name is mentioned twice in this movie. Somebody says Dodo. And every time his name is mentioned, Alice would say Dodo. Every time his name is mentioned, she would say Dodo. Now remember, you know, in reality, Mr. Alice Carroll has a special, Lewis Carroll has a special relationship with young little Alice Liddell. And from the books to the movie screen, those who know the hidden mysteries would pick it up. But those who don't know it, it will just pass by them. So she calls out to him first for help. When she sees the dodo, she says, "Help me, Mr. Dodo, help me." Now, as you can see, Mr. Dodo is another smoker, or a smoker, I should say. He definitely is smoking a pipe. And he is just one of the many individuals in this movie that definitely is a smoker. And these smokes always seem to be saying something. This look like EB. Look at it here, EB, because there's always a message in these movies here. Now, after encountering the Mr. Dodo, she came across Tweedledee and Tweedledum. And Tweedledee and Tweedledum started to tell her a story about the walrus and the carpenter. Now, me personally, I'm not going to miss the science that the carpenter has been brought into the picture. Because remember, Christ is a carpenter. Now, the walrus also, as you can see here, another smoker. So there's a lot of smoking for sure taking place in this movie here. It's already highlighted from the time she's coming down the rabbit hole. And even before we came to the rabbit hole, we already explained for sure the science of going into the different dimensions were already understood by the individual that put this book together. I'm talking of Freemasonry. Now watch this now. If you notice, the walrus is going under the water smoking. Now, I'm not talking about how impossible it is to have a cigar underwater. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the science of smoking and the water. Because keep in mind, everything here is water. She began to cry. And her tears became a sea. And when she met Mr. Dodo, he was smoking and he also was on the sea. Very important. Now that she came across Tweedledee and Tweedledum, and they're telling her of the Walrus, and Mr. Walrus himself, another smoker, and as we see here, we are following him going under the water. Now, as he speaks to the oysters, I want to highlight this here. This is very important. Look at the calendar on the wall. The month is March. Now, for some reason, the makers of the movie found it important to highlight the letter R. The letter R is highlighted in the month of March. Now, you may say, no, you ain't saying nothing because I don't even tell you nothing yet. But R is a very important symbol to Bobo Shanti, King Emmanuel Order. Now, you may be saying, oh, come on, priest, you're taking this a little too far. Have you ever watched the review we did on the Black Panther movie? If you didn't see that, I would advise that you go and watch it. We would do it again, but the movie out the style now. But, you should watch it. Bobo Shanti was made clear in that movie. Is that me making it up? I know what I see. And this is just the beginning of the R story here. Now, look at it. It's in the month of March. The month of March. Everyone knows that March is Bobo Shanti month. March, the Ethiopia Africa Black International Congress Church of Salvation was started on the 1st of March. The celebration goes to the 21st day of March. The Battle of Adawa is the 1st of March. The spring equinox is the 21st of March. And within the month, we celebrate the Women's Freedom Liberation League, and in some concepts, Empress Men in Earth Day, and some call March the Woman's Month. So the March thing is very, very close to the heart of us known as Bobo Shanti. And for whatever reason, the R in this movie is highlighted. Watch it. Look how they highlight the R. Bam. For whatever reason, the R is highlighted. All right. So the what's his name, and the carpenter, the walrus and the carpenter also represents Christ. Remember, we in Wonderland here. All right, now follow this good. After speaking to Mr. Tweedledee and Tweedledum, oh man, I'm sorry that they can't hear this here, but she now comes to the house of the rabbit. Now the rabbit is inside. This house is obviously a mushroom, another psychedelic plant, well, fungus or fungi. Now the rabbit, this is where the rabbit lives. Look at the screen here. It's two. You see two Alice? Look good. You see it? Yeah. I'm sure that the audience see it. Look at two Alice here, one standing up here and one walking. This is some deep stuff. So inside of the house now, the mushroom house, this is the rabbit's house. And the rabbit now is saying, Mary Ann. He's calling somebody named Mary Ann. Mary Ann. Where's that girl? Hear him. See, he's calling Mary Ann. Mary Ann. Now look at this, look at this. Now he's referring to Alice as Mary Ann. What's wrong with this rabbit? He crazy, man. Who is Mary Ann, by the way? How is it that he's mixing up Alice with Mary Ann? And he's telling Alice Marianne to go and get his gloves. What you doing out here? Go and get my gloves. I'm late. My glove. So Marianne, look at this wall here. Look at all these people on the wall. These are his family, you know, rabbit multiplies. So anyway, Marianne goes into the house. And oh, that's a wonderful idea, Princess. Put on the caption. Yes, good. Now she ate something and she's getting bigger again. So what this is saying here, let me explain this now. This is very important. Okay, good. Now, listen to me, family. What this represents, and now you see it becomes night. I want you to listen to me good. Within all the fun and frolic of the cartoon movie, Alice is symbolizing the Christ figure. Pinocchio, Christ figure. Red Riding Hood, Christ figure. Remember when we decoded the movie Hoodwink and we show you Red Riding Hood, Christ figure, the Big Bad Wolf, Christ figure. Who else in that movie was the Christ figure? Even the goat was the Christ figure. Grandma was a Christ figure. And even the lumberjack was a Christ figure. And it had to do with the cycle of the sun. I'm sure you could recall that. It's the same thing that is taking place here now. Alice represents the tree of life. That's why I had to go into all that stuff with Osiris and everything, even though we didn't go too deep. In fact, we just ran through that quickly, hoping that you would have retained the previous lectures that we would have done. So Alice in this setting here represents the Christ figure. She represents the tree of life. Because remember, the tree of life, although it's a tree, is more than a tree. It represents a human being, the savior, you know, the sustainer, he or she that comes to show you the way. That's the idea of it. You don't have to turn it into religion. Just let us stick on this level. So now what she has done here, she has embodied the mushroom. She has embodied the mushroom. After this, she's going to embody the tree. Follow me good. He referred to her as Mary Ann. Marijuana is Mary J. Again, going back to other lectures that we've done. Mary, the Mariam, that has to go through the water, is the marijuana, as they would say, the prostitute from Mexico. But you understand the science because we broke that whole prostitute thing down too. It's deep. So now she has grown into the mushroom. You had to put it in a cartoon form. So please excuse my language, so the kids could laugh and you know, but there's a real message being expressed here, and it has become night too when she came big, you know. And you know, this may sound a bit vulgar, but please do not take it vulgar. And that's where the word vulgar comes from, the vulva. If you notice, the artistry has provided a little hole right here, which would represent exactly where the opening of the vaginal canal would be. Just reality. Don't tell me the artist didn't realize that. And I don't think it's just, you know, to be vulgar, but it has a deeper meaning within it, you know, the life-giving source of the mother. Remember, we began by showing you Ainana, you know, Ainana, and going into the underworld, you know, to redeem herself and all of that kind of stuff. This is what's taking place here, or this is what's being expressed here. Even the birdhouse is a mushroom. Now he's going for help. And he's going to get the dodo. The dodo bird is going to come and help. And when she says, here, he's going to say, dodo. And when he says dodo, she says, Dodo. Is this caption reading right? Sometimes these captions are. But anyway, I can't read the caption and talk. It's okay. So here comes the dodo again. Smoking. Again. You know, look at these leaves here. Interesting looking leaves, eh? These leaves over here on the side, on the bushes. Interesting looking leaves. Yeah. So obviously, when he sees the monster, and look how he does his eyebrows. And she opens, and you may be saying, what you saying there? You mean what I'm saying? Remember who the dodo is, eh? Remember the dodo is Mr. Charles Carroll. And remember Alice is Alice. So when you understand who the dodo is and who Alice is, when you watch Alice in Wonderland and you observe how the dodo deals with Alice, you have to pay attention. As I said, every time his name is called, yes, Dodo, she always says, Dodo. Every time. She says it at the beginning. She said it there when she was in the house as the mushroom. And when he realized that, hey, well, when he sees what he sees, maybe the artist would have to explain why is it his eyebrows went up 3 times when he saw that large monster there in the form of Alice in the mushroom house. And there she is gleaming through the window. I mean, I can't answer everything. I don't know what's behind the mind of these sick people. So, what you like, Charlie well is. Do something, Dodo. Yes. You have to be careful. But anyway, let's move on. So what is going to happen now? You know, the lizard is going to come and all of that. She's going to sneeze a lizard out the chimney. Watch this. Yes, the lizard gone out the chimney. And so they're going to come to the conclusion now that they will have to smoke her out. We're going to smoke the monster out. You hear what they're going to do? Huh? We're going to smoke the monster out. Somebody said they like to hear me sing it. Smoke the monster out. Anyway, all right. Hey, what time we have there, by the way? Wow. 8:29. Okay. All right. Let me see here. So, what is happening here now? Oh, what's going on here? All right. Now, follow me good. So, see, he's smoking her out. Yeah, we'll smoke the monster out. So see what they're going to do? They're going to smoke it out. So anyway, she became small again. And she left Mr. Dodo there trying to burn down the house by himself. So he was left to do the smoking on his own. This is some serious stuff, eh? And she went still running down Puka. Puka sounds very close to hookah, eh? Right. Puka is the white rabbit. Masonry, down the hole to carry it to another world. All right. So she's small again now. And she's trying to find the white rabbit. So she comes across a garden of flowers. And the flowers, you have all type of flowers there. You have daffodils, dandelions, bellflowers, roses, all kind of things here. And they gave her a nice song. This song, okay, this one is nice. Listen to this. She says in the song, listen to this. Listen to this. Listen to this, eh? Now you may not hear it, but she says, you can learn a lot of things from the flowers, especially in the month of June. That's harvest time. So you can learn a lot of things from the flowers. Now, what is interesting here is that after singing her this nice song, the flowers. Now, what is interesting here is that after singing her this nice song, they kind of got a little upset with her. They're trying to find out now, who are you? You know, where are you from? Listen to this. Do you suppose she's a wildflower? Oh, no, I'm not a wildflower. Shall we say, genus, are you what genus are you, my dear? And she said something about she's from the genus human, something or the other. Did you notice her petals? Look at those stems. Rather scrawny, I see. Now hear this, she's nothing but a overlay vulgaris. What is that? Listen to this. Listen to what she says. To put it bluntly. Bluntly, she said it. Blunt. She said it. To put it bluntly, you are a weed. Weed in a man. So Alice is a mushroom. Alice is weed. To put it bluntly. And that is very, very clear. She just said it. You could learn a lot of things from the flowers. This is a flower show. She said it at the beginning. Was it at the beginning? Well, I read it at the beginning in another song where she said in her world, you know, she would sit and talk, the flowers would talk to her for hours. And these flowers have special powers. How do you get to Wonderland? You gotta go behind the tree. She's a weed. Marianne, come on, it's clear. It's clear. Anyway, so after coming out of the flower patch now, she's saying she's not a weed, and she upset. And watch this. She gets pushed away with a gush of water again. So the weed and the water, and she's on a leaf, because chalice we're dealing with, you know. And after that experience now, she's gonna meet the granddaddy. Watch this. When last have you watched this movie? You should have watched it before we gathered here tonight. Trust me. So she meets now the caterpillar sitting on the mushroom. A-E-I-O-U. And she's definitely taken in. Wow. And she's leaning on the mushroom. And then he's going to obviously notice that she's there. Cool. Now you see the R coming to the play again. Now, well, no, it's more than that. So now he's asking her, who are you? This is what the ancient Babylonian theology of Ainana says, that when she went into the underworld, she had to declare who she was. She had to declare herself. And this is the same thing with Alice here. She's been asked now by the top smoker. Now, if you notice, when the walrus was smoking his little roach, he went underwater smoking it. Man, these people know the theology, man. A lot of ones used to say that a lot of things that I talk is I make it up, you know. Because I've been speaking this kind of stuff for years, but with time, I continually bring it from different angles. So now over the years, when you really look back on everything we have been saying and you put it together from different angles, you yourself have to say, well, boy, priest, straight up. Yeah, you know what you're saying. Because we've been sent to unravel these things. All what we're talking about here tonight, this ain't no second story or we getting it from somebody else. We sit and watch it good. Yes, the things we're putting to you that maybe others have seen and you can see. But to break it down to another level, there, King Emmanuel order. And I'm going to prove that right now. So Big Man is asking her now, who are you? Declare yourself, and she don't know. She hardly know. Watch this. I do not see. Now he smoke the smoke, you know. She burning the chalice. That's why you have the spiral in the leaves. See, the leaves have the spiral. This is the symbol. Which leaf? Leaf have spiral? Give me a leaf. Leaf have the ribs, the mid rib and the stuff, the veins. Watch them spirals there in these leaves, because the spiral represents the spiral of the smoke. You know, naturally, the spiral represents the spiral of the smoke. So when you observe that now, she says she's not herself. You, who? Watch the R. Now, if you notice, the R broke up into many R's. So that's highlighting the R. Who are I? Watch those R's. Who are you? Now she's coughing. Now she's coughing. Man, she take a draw, man. She take a draw. 1951, eh? Enough smoking in this movie here. Take it easy. Ooh, see? She's smoking. She's partaking. If you notice, she's on her mushroom and he's on his mushroom. So that's the symbol. And the leaves have the spiral. So this is just showing you now she's at the initiation spot. She's declaring herself. Who are you? Remember, she done go down the rabbit hole, you know. Don't lose it. She done go down the rabbit hole to find herself, find salvation. Chalice, man, in Wonderland. Even coming down the hall, they don't show you the chalice. Everyone she buck up and just burning away. And the science of the water from her own tears was clear. Everything so confusing. Now watch this. Now he's going to tell a story about the crocodile. I don't want to hear all of that. I want to show you this. More smoking. See? Watch it, watch it, watch it. Watch this drop. Watch this drop. Watch this drop she take. That's a drop she take from the chalice. So you just lick her off the top of it. All right. Now, as I said here, come on, movie, don't try to play with me. Okay. That's showing so like that on your thing?
I was thinking a bit of ice.
All right, I don't know what's going on here. Don't try to do me that. All right, hold on. All right, sorry about that, people. Don't feel on. All right, now, what is going to happen here? As you know, he becomes a caterpillar, turning into a butterfly. And after turning into the butterfly, he told Alice to eat the mushroom, the both sides. Now remember, mushroom is like a circle, eh? So just to figure out which is one side and which is the other side, and one will make her get big and one will make her get small. Now, when she gets big, remember she got big before, and what did she become? She was in the mushroom house, a psychedelic plant or a fungi. Now she becomes a tree. Now she becomes a tree. And there's a bird on top of her head. Now, I know you cannot hear, but the bird just referred to her as a serpent. Now the bird is crying, serpent, 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 serpent. But I'm not a serpent. Now, if you notice, she has to be declaring that she's not this and she's not that. She had to tell him that she's not a weed. But she's a weed. Now she's telling the bird that she's not a serpent. Now, if you can recall that in our vibration, we have highlighted the feathered snake as it relates again to the whole Christ figure. This is the feathered snake here in the Mass of Lord Pakal. We can't break down all of that right now, but I'm sure, I am almost 100% positive that everyone that is listening tonight has some idea of the science of the feathered snake as told, by ourselves. But just to run through it quickly, the science of the feathered snake is the science of the sun. And of course, the sun is the symbol of God, really, the symbol of God. So when you understand the rotation of the sun, the electromagnetic field line of the equator, which rotates once every 26 days, and the electromagnetic field line of the poles, which rotates once every 37 days. Because of that specific difference in rotation, every 87.5 days, they continually collide with each other. I mean, the field line, the electromagnetic field line of the sun just continue to smash into each other. So they become so encoiled and entangled that they burst from underneath the surface of the sun, creating what is known as a sunspots. Now the sunspots now, they can be measured. Pardon me. You see them on a computer graph in a formation that is similar to how we used to carve out the feathered snakes in ancient time. In fact, they have carvings of feathered snakes that have shown themselves to be perfectly aligned with electromagnetic, the 11-year sunspot cycle seen on a computer graph at specific times. Now that's amazing. Eh? I don't know if you pick up what I just said. When you look at the 11-year sunspot cycle on a computer graph, you know, just like how this snake with the feathers look, it's the same thing. The snake with feathers that have been seen on glyphs, different parts of the world, that when you align them with specific graphs of the 11-year sunspot cycle, they're perfect even down to the feathers. That is just to show you the heights of meditation that we were carrying thousands of years ago. So my point is that we had the understanding, that's my point, we had the understanding or the comprehension, the understanding that the science of the sun was related to the snake with wings. So this is why throughout mythology, science, history, you always see this concept with the bird and the snake. We highlight Tutankhamun with the bird and the snake on his mitre or on his crown. We highlight the Christ saying that just as Moses lifted up the serpent in the wilderness, so shall I, the Christ, be lifted up. We highlight the medical symbol when you see the two snakes wrapped together and the wings flapping out. That symbolizes the feathered snake or the snake with wings. So the snake with wings, Quetzalcoatl, the ancient Mayan tradition, it's nothing funny or spooky. It's reality and can be seen in science. And that is one of the things we highlighted when we decoded the movie Hoodwink. Remember, in the beginning of Hoodwink, the police was telling the badger, as the police was telling the reporters, hey, you with the feathers, get behind the snake. You remember that? You with the feathers, get behind the snake. And the very first time I saw that movie, that was the line that hooked me. It's right at the beginning. And I said, hey, I remember where I was when I saw that movie. I wasn't even in my house. I was in St. Lucia by a brethren, and he wasn't there. And I went by him to look at something, a specific program that I did there in St. Lucia, and it would air on Sundays. So after the program was over, they brought on that movie, and I was just about to get up, and when I heard that, you with the feathers, get behind the snake, I said, what? And I sat down and I watched that movie, and I just saw it all. I said, oh, wow, this is some serious stuff. So these little cartoons, they're filled with the high science. The feathered snake. So, oh, wow. So these little cartoons, they're filled with the high science. The feathered snake. So, I am telling you that Alice represents a God figure in this cartoon. So the bird represents the feather, and she, as the bird, is referring to Alice as a serpent. That's the feathered snake right there. And Alice is big again, and she's now a tree. She's represented now as the tree of life in her full form, in the same way that she was the mushroom, because she represents the plant. She represents the psychedelic material that will carry you through that rabbit hole, that will carry you through the different dimensions. That's why everybody is smoking. Serpent, Marianne, that's what the rabbit called her, the same rabbit she trying to run down. He referred to her as Marianne.
What time are you?
8:46.
8:46.
So this smile here comes from the Cheshire cat. He's not seen smoking anything, but he's definitely on something. He definitely stands out as one of the outstanding figures in this movie here. Can you stand on your head? Okay. Now, obviously, he would have really had Mrs. Alice or Miss Alice going around in circles. Our time is coming to a conclusion. I'm just taking a deep breath as I'm meditating how to run through all of this. Now, the Cheshire cat is seen on the St. Wilfrid Cathedral. This is in Cheshire also. And the St. Wilfrid Cathedral. This is in Cheshire also. And you can see statues of this cat here. Look at here. On the church building. So this grinning cat ain't no makeup thing, eh? This is a real philosophy